They say there's a time and place for everything, just as long as it doesn't offend anyone.
Yum, yum, yum.
It may seem that shows like South Park, Family Guy, and Game of Thrones can get away with anything, but even they aren't immune from censorship imposed by networks and public opinion. But what could possibly have been so offensive about Sesame Street that had it banned in Mississippi? Or about The Price is Right that had them pull dozens of episodes from syndication? Find out in our list of 10 TV shows banned for shocking reasons. The Simpsons. The season 9 episode of The Simpsons titled The Cartridge Family showed what happens when people like Homer acquire firearms. His reckless misuse of the weapon wasn't considered very funny by British censors, who didn't allow the episode to be aired when it initially premiered in 1997. It would later appear on a Too Hot for TV VHS compilation and would air in syndication in the UK, but not without several bits cut, such as Marge deciding to keep the gun herself at the end and Moe's lesson on how to turn a gun into 5 guns. Seinfeld. As a big network show, Seinfeld didn't usually court controversy, and one of their final episodes illustrated why. In Puerto Rican Day, the characters get stuck in traffic caused by the Puerto Rican Day Parade. The parade is mostly an excuse to have the characters gridlocked and is never even shown. However, in the episode's final minutes, Kramer accidentally lights a Puerto Rican flag on fire and gets chased by several angry parade goers. The National Puerto Rican Coalition took particular umbrage with Kramer's observation that it's like this every day in Puerto Rico, as they attacked Jerry's car.
You know, it's like this every day in Puerto Rico.
It was called an unconscionable insult to Puerto Ricans. NBC issued an apology and pulled the episode from syndication. Sesame Street. What could be so objectionable about puppets teaching children to count that got Sesame Street banned for 22 days in 1970 Mississippi? To put it bluntly, racism. Not racism in the show, but on the part of a committee who was uncomfortable with an integrated cast of kids and decided to flip a big bird to the civil rights movement. No official reason was given when they first pulled the show from the airwaves, but once an anonymous insider leaked the committee's reasoning, the public outrage was too loud to ignore and they reversed their decision. Boy Meets World. When Boy Meets World began in 1993, nobody expected it to last 7 seasons. During its run, Corey went through many things, including puberty. By the 7th season, star Ben Savage was 20 years old, so the showrunners tried to include some more age-appropriate themes, such as underage drinking and premarital sex. The show found a new audience in syndication on the Disney Channel, but to this day there are 3 episodes that fans who discovered the show here have never seen due to their mature content. They'll just have to use their imagination for what happened between Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World. Star Trek. In the original Star Trek series, the crew would often find themselves on planets with societies that mirror aspects of our own, usually accompanied by some kind of social commentary. In a second season episode titled Patterns of Force, the Starship Enterprise finds themselves on a planet with a rising power that emulates the Nazis. Because of the blatant depiction of the Third Reich and character claiming that the Nazis were the most efficient society ever, German networks refused to air the episode for nearly 3 decades. There's clearly a lot of shame surrounding this aspect of German history, but it's not exactly something that can just be swept under the rug by removing all cultural references. X-Files. While the X-Files predominantly dealt with UFOs and alien conspiracies, some episodes were much more horror than sci-fi. In season 4, they aired one of the most controversial episodes ever with Home, a story involving a heavily inbred family cut off from the outside world. In addition to the taboo subject matter, it was an intensely scary episode and little too much for what primetime network audiences were used to. It was the only X-Files episode to get slapped with a TVMA rating, but they still received viewer complaints and the episode was removed from syndication on Fox. Home is now considered one of the best episodes of the series, but in 1996, people trying to unwind on Sunday night with Mulder and Scully's latest alien adventure just weren't prepared for something that was more Texas Chainsaw Massacre than Close Encounters. South Park. South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker have continually pushed the boundaries of censorship, and in 2010 they found out just how far they could go. For episode number 200, they made a 2-part special that tied together multiple storylines from past seasons, one of which promised to show the Muslim prophet Muhammad. After the first part aired, Stone and Parker received death threats, and Comedy Central decided to censor the character with a black bar and bleep out all mentions of the prophet's name. The irony being that South Park's message is often about censorship and freedom of speech, so many thought they had meant to have the character removed this way in order to prove a point. They even incorporated the experience into Kyle's concluding monologue about using violent threats to get your way, but this was also bleeped out. The Price is Right. If you ever watched The Price is Right during the Bob Barker years, you'll remember that he closed every episode with a reminder to get your pets spayed or neutered.
Help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
This wasn't a sponsored message, but a personal mantra from an ardent animal rights activist. Fur coats were once a common prize on the game show, but at Barker's request, they not only stopped giving them away, but agreed not to air any reruns or release DVDs of episodes with fur prizes. He remains critical of other prizes the show still gives away, such as tickets to SeaWorld and the Calgary Stampede, which is probably why he wasn't invited to partake on the show's 40th anniversary, despite being the host for 35 years. Family Guy. Like South Park, Family Guy found out just how far they could push the envelope in 2010 with Partial Terms of Endearment, an episode where Lois gets an abortion. Perhaps one of the reasons Family Guy is able to get away with pretty much anything is because the jokes are usually irreverent, yet disconnected from anything that's actually happening in the story or to the characters. Generally, nothing is taboo on the show, but when the entire third act was about Lois getting the abortion, Fox wasn't laughing and decided to terminate the episode. Even the Cartoon Network's Adult Swim wouldn't air it, but it played in the UK and can now be seen on DVD and streaming platforms. Game of Thrones. When you have a show with as many severed body parts as HBO's Game of Thrones, sometimes you have to outsource the production or rent them in bulk. This is how ex-President George W. Bush's head accidentally ended up impaled on a stick in the first season, much to HBO's dismay. Even with a wig, Bush's profile is recognizable in a couple of shots, though the showmakers claim it wasn't intentional and didn't even notice until after the scene was shot. Intentional or not, HBO was forced to issue an apology for what was seen as disrespect for the former head of state, and promised to remove the shot from all future DVDs. How many of these banned episodes have you been able to track down? Were there any we missed? Let us know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.